Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CryptosRUs. I am George. Well, we only have one day left until the new year. So, we still have time to see Bitcoin close in at $30,000. Not right now, but we still have time. But today I have a good stream for you guys. I want to showcase and react to Bank of America, one of their global strategic analysts, that was asked about Bitcoin's price rise, and he was 100% clueless on why Bitcoin's price went up this year. He did not have anything good to say. In fact, this whole interview I'm about to show you is quite embarrassing. It really is, and I think you guys will like this clip. So, thanks for tuning in. As always, I have these live streams 11 a.m. Central Standard Time every single weekday. I have them at night sometimes too, and sometimes over the weekend. Plus, there's a lot of recorded segments as well. So make sure, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and also give me a thumbs up. And let's get started. I got a lot to show you guys, a lot to talk about. And hopefully, during the stream, we see Bitcoin creep up to that 30,000 mark. We still have some time. We still have some time. All right, so let me switch my screen here. I have to put on my headset so I can listen to this with you guys. Look at that smile. Look at that smile. How could you hate a guy for having a smile like that? Okay, so let me do this. Okay, let's get started. So this is a Bank of America, one of their global commodities expert, something like that. And he went on Bloomberg and he was asked about Bitcoin, right? You would figure if you're brought onto a show, you should know what you're talking about, right? He actually said absolutely nothing in this interview. This is a 3-minute clip, so I'm not gonna bore you guys to death, but let's get started.
What's your take on this? I know you've been writing about Bitcoin here and there for years now, Francisco. Has it now been widely accepted in the institutional investment community?
Well, look, I think cryptocurrencies in general and Bitcoin in particular are, to your earlier question, I think they're clearly tokens, and tokens are commodities. So I wouldn't necessarily qualify them as currencies. Currencies are issued by a government. Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency can be issued by almost anyone, right? So in that sense, it's a bit of an unusual setup. So I would qualify that. I think it's more of a commodity than it is a currency, a crypto token. The second thing I'd say is that if you think about,
Okay, I'm just gonna stop right there. It took the guy. He was not asked whether or not Bitcoin is a currency or a commodity. He was asked, "Hey, you've been talking about Bitcoin for several years now, for 3 years. So is it here to stay? Are the institutions really adopting it?" And he rambled on for over a minute trying to clarify that Bitcoin is not a currency, it's a commodity because there is no government that created it. So he didn't answer the question at all. He's just stumbling on. All right, let's see if he does a better job now.
this particular construct that Bitcoin has. Remember that 90% plus of the coin is held by less than 1% of the account holders.
Okay, that is false. That is false. That's something that a fudster would say because there's already 12% of the circulating supply out on exchanges alone that is being traded. So that already refutes this 90% being held by 1%. And let's not forget, a large amount of Bitcoin is also held in cold wallets and so forth. And of course, there are a lot that has also been lost. So right off the bat, his knowledge of Bitcoin overall is very flawed, just with his first statement alone.
So there's a very high concentration of the early adopters that haven't really sold And again, if you think about supply and demand, it's just one of those things that there's been a flurry of demand and frankly not very much supply, because the first of all, the supply is capped longer term,
Right.
and that's been the issue. So it's extremely volatile. I wouldn't. Compare it to any other commodity, the volatility of cryptocurrencies is way higher in most cases.
So
What? Did he answer anything? Look at that smile. That's a perfect stopping point. What did he just say? What did he answer? He was asked whether or not Bitcoin is here to stay, is being adopted by institutions. What was his answer? He just spewed out a bunch of nonsense. He keeps trying to clarify it's a commodity, and that's it. That's it. Yeah, you have holders that's holding it, right? And it could be volatile. But what does that have to do with institutional adoption, which is the question that he was asked? So the hosts, they're trying to change the subject now because they clearly know that he has no idea what he's talking about. This is someone that is trying to make it up on the fly and has no basic knowledge of Bitcoin at all. So you can see he's really struggling. I don't know why you would do an interview. You're going to get asked about Bitcoin. At least spend 10 minutes to come up with, do some research to have something to say. So, okay. And the second question he was asked is even worse in terms of his answer.
So, Francisco, I want to ask you, what do you make, though, of a year where you've got Bitcoin up more than 300% here in 2020, and you've got gold on track to have the biggest annual advance in a decade? How do you kind of juxtapose this
like that.
two? And how do you kind of make sense of that?
Right. So to me, it's quite straightforward. We've had,
straightforward.
of course, a flurry of liquidity that's coming to the market from the central banks. The Fed's balance sheet's more than doubled as well throughout the period. So naturally, when you inject so much money, remember, we were talking about currency before, right? So currency is created by governments, and when the world's most important central bank in the world's largest economy injects so much liquidity in the financial system, all assets tend to benefit from it. And that's what we've seen. Now, if you think about airline stocks, or you think about other assets that have been severely impacted by mobility, which is really what the COVID-19 crisis is about, they've not gone back to previous historical records. But other asset classes that were in some way constrained, they've surged. And of course, that's included commodities like gold or silver. It's also, like I said before, it's impacted. Think about electric vehicle stocks, right? I mean, those have also taken off in a huge way. So I think liquidity has been driving this enormous divergence in asset values that we've seen, because central banks, with the Fed at the helm, were trying to support the economy and particularly.
Okay, that's the end of the clip. What the hell did he say? I don't know. He keeps interjecting random thoughts with no backing, without any, like in the middle of what he was saying. Like I said before, currencies, and then he moves to assets, and then he talks about airline stocks. We're not talking about airline stocks. Are we talking about a currency or commodity or asset? I mean, he's jumping from one subject to another to another to another. And he didn't say anything. He was asked why Bitcoin went up 300%, why Bitcoin's price rose up, right? And then the hosts were kind of laughing at gold because gold's price rise this year is very minuscule compared to Bitcoin. So he's basically asked, why is Bitcoin going up? Why is gold not going up? And he's just stumbling, just like no clue how to answer it. Just give a generic answer, okay? Yes. There's massive liquidity that's coming into the market, and it does help everything, right? It helps stocks, it helps Bitcoin, it helps even gold. But why is Bitcoin outperforming all of them? It's the very first question. Institutions are coming in. Just say that, right? The hosts are even trying to lead him on, and he has no idea what he's talking about. He has no clue why Bitcoin's going up. I don't know how he could be a Bank of America head of global commodities and derivatives research because he has done zero research on this topic. Zero. He has no clue about Bitcoin, why Bitcoin went up, why anything went up in 2020, to be frank. So, yeah, I don't know. Like Phil said, this guy must be a smooth talker with the ladies. He just went back and forth in circles and no idea on what he's saying. Anyways, that's why I wanted to show you guys and begin with, because like I said, I thought you guys would have a good, you guys would enjoy this because, yeah, I did. I just picked this up randomly too, right before I was about to stream. I'm like, come on, I gotta show this. All right, so besides this guy who has no clue what he's talking about, let's talk about why Bitcoin is going up 300%, why it has gone up 300%, and why it'll keep increase. By the way, I did release 2 videos recently that kind of shares the same thoughts. So yesterday night, I released one from ARK Invest, Kathy Wood, and it's one that a lot of people missed. She believes Bitcoin will go up to $500,000 someday. Not that end of 2021, but up to $500,000. And she gives her reasons why. She brings up some very good points. So if you haven't watched that video yet, you should do so. And also this morning, I released a video about Tom Lee. Remember Tom Lee, one of our favorite CNBC analysts. He went on, he was a little gun shy about giving predictions, but he believes 2021 will be even better than 2020 and that Bitcoin will rise more than 300%. So if you haven't watched those 2 videos, make sure you do so at the end of the stream. But I'm going to give you another compelling reason why Bitcoin has gone up and why it'll continue to go up. And I think this analogy is perfect. And I found this morning. And I will read this quote for you guys. We have just entered a rare whale spawning season with the ultra high net worth and institutions recognizing the last call to build significant stores of Bitcoin. Okay? The final land grab has started. I love that analogy. The final land grab has started. And by this time next year, accumulating over 1,000 Bitcoins will be nearly impossible for most people. Let's be honest. Right now, it's nearly impossible to accumulate 1,000 Bitcoins for most people already. But people that got in early, started mining early, started buying early, they have way more than 1,000 Bitcoins. But this is the perfect analogy. This is, right now, why there's so much FOMO among institutional investors. Right? They realize this is the final land grab. Think about it, just like real estate on Earth, right? Although there's plenty of land out there, but the imagine buying Manhattan or something, right? Early on when it was worth nothing, right? You want to grab land that it's gonna go up in value because it's a great place for a city or a great place for a shopping mall or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, but. There's a limited supply. Bitcoin, there's a limited supply, right? We know that. It's been out there for years that Bitcoin does have a limited supply. There's a set supply and it only gets rare over time. Kind of like real estate, right? But people didn't pay attention. And I've been giving this analogy for years. I'm like, imagine if the gold miners or oil drillers or any other producer of anything says that, hey, we are coming to an end. There's going to be no more oil or no more gold or no more silver or no more precious metals that we can dig out of the earth within the next 10 years. Imagine what kind of effect that would have on the overall prices, right? Bitcoin's the same way. It's just no one paid attention until now. Now the institutions are realizing, oh boy, Bitcoin is here to stay, right? This is the last chance we have to grab cheap Bitcoins, according to them. So they're trying to accumulate as much as possible. This is the final land grab, basically, for them, which is why they're all FOMOing in. Now, retail investors, average Joes, average people, they haven't realized that yet. But when they do, when they realize that they could have bought Bitcoin at $2,000, $3,000, $10,000, even at $28,000, $29,000, when they finally realize that I should have bought some or I should have bought more, it's too late. It's gone. The holders, the number of holders, the number of addresses that hold more and more Bitcoins keep rising, but it's still minuscule compared to the rest of the population. When the whole population wants to get in, that's when it's too late. There's no more. There's no more Bitcoins, right? And that's when Bitcoin will be 300, 400, a million plus, right? So I think this is a perfect analogy that right now it's a final land grab basically for all these institutions and high net worth individuals, because they want to grab as much as they can, because there's only so much, and after it's done, it's done. But what about the rest of you guys, right? What about those of you guys that can't afford 1,000 Bitcoins? Well, that's why yesterday I showed this. You know, I talked about a $600 stimulus check that some people are getting, right? And it could be more, depending on how many people are in your family and how many kids and so forth, right? But if you just look at the total number of addresses out there and the number of Bitcoins, or at least the dollar value of the Bitcoins within them, is actually very, very minuscule right now, right? So as high as Bitcoin is right now, around 29,000, heading to 30,000, and we may see 30,000 by the end of the day, it's still very small, and you could still grab a piece. And that piece, that land, right, that basically you're getting is going to be worth a whole lot more in the future, a whole lot more in the future, as more and more people want a smaller piece of what you have. So looking at the total number of addresses, there's about 34 million in total, but you know, most people have more than one. So let's just say divide by 2, let's just say there's 17, right? 17 million addresses out there, 17 million people on the planet Earth that owns Bitcoin. It's probably a lot less than that, honestly. It's probably like more like 5 to 10 million in my opinion. But let's just, for argument's sake, let's just say 17 million. Out of the 17 million, only 12 million addresses, okay? So you cut that in half. Only 6 million people on the planet Earth have more than $100 worth of Bitcoin. Just $100. Think about it. You skip dinner a couple times, you could put that into Bitcoin, and you already have more Bitcoins than 6 million people out there on the planet Earth. And that's out of a total of 17 million, right? But if you have 1,000, there's only 2.5 million people that have more than you. If you have 10,000 people, there's only 750,000 people less than you. And if you have more than $100,000 worth of Bitcoin right now, there is only 150,000 people richer than you in terms of Bitcoin on planet Earth. Right? So you are in the top 0.0001% of the population, if you think about it, right? If you have more than $1 million, there's only 35,000 people that's richer than you, right? So the number of people holding Bitcoin is actually still very, very small compared to the population of the Earth. And we know right now the institutions are FOMOing, right? Retail FOMO hasn't really hit. When it does, it's gonna go much higher, right? And that's when the number of addresses will increase dramatically, the number of dollars in each address will go up dramatically, right? But right now, it's not too late to become a top 1%er in terms of Bitcoin holding, right? It's not too late for that. It's actually very easy to do that, and it's very easy to be a 0.1%er just by having a small amount into Bitcoin. So final land grab, I think that's the best way to look at it. That is what's happening in 2020. That's going to happen in 2021. And after 2021, Bitcoin may never come down again because of institutional buying. That's the biggest difference between 2020 and 2021 versus all previous years. When people come to you and say, well, Bitcoin fell down in 2018 and it fell down at the beginning of 2020, what's to say it won't fall down again? The difference is the institutions are FOMOing in, and they're not buying for the short term, they're buying for the long haul. That is the difference maker. That's the biggest difference maker, and this is something that Bitcoin has never experienced in its entire history. Its 12-year history, it's never had institutional adoption, and that is a major difference. Major difference. All right. How many Bitcoins are there? For those of you guys that are new, you have no idea, right? There's only 900 produced per day. There's about 18.6 million in existence, but about 3 to 5 million of that is lost forever. Basically, people that lost their keys and so forth. So the number is actually quite small, much smaller than that. 88, almost 89% already is issued, and there's only 2.5 million left to be mined. So you could see how scarce it is, especially when Grayscale is adding about $2 billion worth of Bitcoin per week, right? And all these other institutions are buying hundreds of millions of dollars. They're all converting. And you know what? This is really the final land grab. Final land grab for Bitcoin, right? Even Peter Schiff's own son is disagreeing with his dad now. So I found this is the last thing I want to share with you guys. Peter Schiff's son, who is studying economics, 18-year-old, went to Australian college. Recently, he called out his dad. His dad is arguing with Max Kaiser. And this quote is just like too sophisticated even for me. But I'll read it anyways. So this is his son, Spencer Schiff, tweeting to his dad. Your understanding of money is flawed. You think that the key determinant of a money's soundness is possession of intrinsic value, a nonsensical concept, which is true. Like, what is intrinsic value, really? What differentiates sound money from fiat money is the former's emergence on the free market rather than, I don't know how to say that, conservative state edicts. Okay, those are words I don't even know and I don't even know how to pronounce. But I get the point. The point is, sound money is what comes out from the free market, right? That is Bitcoin. Bitcoin came out of the free market, created out of thin air. It's adopted because this is what the people want. They distrust the banks. They distrust government. They distrust central banks. So it's a lot more sound than fiat, which is controlled by the governments that basically do whatever they want. They could print out as much as they want endlessly, and that is what we're seeing. People are afraid of inflation, devaluation, and it's not just a theoretical thing. It is happening around you. You could see that assets in 2020 is going up through the roof. Is it because they're appreciating, or is it because the dollar is devaluing itself? It's inflating. It's maybe a little bit of both, right? Or it's just that the dollar is getting worthless. That's ultimately what's happening right now, which is why if you're still not convinced about Bitcoin, you really, really need to educate yourself and get yourself involved. Grab a little piece of land. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. You're going to be left behind like Peter Schiff, and you're going to be very angry for the rest of your life that you did not get into Bitcoin early and that you missed out on your chance of becoming a billionaire like Peter Schiff. All right, guys. Going to the charts, Bitcoin is at 28,660. It's a little bit under than where it was yesterday, but right now, the new resistance for Bitcoin is 29.2. So we just broke out. Remember, 27.2. It took about 3 days, but now we're pressing against this next resistance at 29.2. And honestly, it looks like Bitcoin just wants to shatter through that any day now. So it's only been less than a day since Bitcoin hit 29.2 till now. It's coming down a little bit, but overall, I think we still have a good chance. If there's a little bit more momentum, keep in mind, 28.6 to 30,000 is not that far off. It seems like it's far off. It's not. You know, within 5 minutes, Bitcoin could be at 29.2 again, and then it's only 800-point difference from 29.2 to 30. So it's still early in the day. We still have 12 hours left, more than 12 hours left. Let's see what Bitcoin can do for the rest of the day. I do believe there's still a good shot, but you know what? If it misses out, big whoop. We're heading into the weekend pretty soon. Last weekend, we saw Bitcoin jump up, skyrocket the last weekend. We can certainly see so this weekend too. So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. All right, guys, I'm going to turn to you guys for some Q&A. Those of you guys that tuned in, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell and follow me on Twitter and Facebook so you don't miss out on any of my streams. Brandon Green asked, George, is it possible for Bitcoin to become too expensive? as in a single Satoshi is worth more than $1 or $10. No, I don't think so. I mean, you could break it up to like 8 decimal points, right? So Bitcoin has to be like $1 billion each for that to happen, where one sat would be like worth $10. So I don't think it's gonna get there, but who knows? Who knows? That's one of those things that it's a good problem to have, right? That's one of those things you tell your you tell your friends like, hey, my wallet is too small for all the money that I have in there, right? So that's one of those things that just worry about if it comes, but if it does come, it's gonna be a good thing. It's gonna be a great problem to have. Okay, so just don't worry too much about it. What do you think the best mining stock to get behind? Right now, they are all the Bitcoin mining stocks are skyrocketing. I just read an article yesterday saying that the Bitcoin miners are making $1 billion per month now, or some astronomical number, because of how fast Bitcoin has risen. You know, the block difficulty for Bitcoin is just every 2 weeks. So within that 2 weeks, Bitcoin went up so much. They are just raking in the money right now. So I think all of them are good. MicroStrategy stock is good. All the mining stocks are good. Square and PayPal, they're good. Anything that's involved with Bitcoin right now is hot. Hot, hot, hot. Flipman is right. Soon we'll be at 60,000 or 50,000, whatever it may be, right? And everyone will wish that they bought some when it was lower. That's the name of the game. I've been saying it, you know, at 3,000, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 14,000, 18,000, 20,000. I've always said this. I'm like, you know what? It may seem expensive now. At the time, when Bitcoin's at 14,000, people didn't want to believe it could break up. When we were at 19.5, people didn't want to believe it would break up. I'm like, you know what? Dollar cost average, spread out your buys, right? Or buy on the dips. Whatever you're buying it at now, you simply hodl. It's going to be cheaper than where it's going to be. So right now, 29,000, 30,000 seems like, oh, it's so expensive. It's so expensive. It's true. It's not cheap to buy one Bitcoin anymore. But when Bitcoin is at 50,000, 100,000, $1 million, you go think back. Oh, I heard George say buy Bitcoin at 30,000 and now it's $1 million. I should have bought some, right? It doesn't matter if you buy one, a fractional one, 0.1, 0.001. If you buy something, remember I showed you guys the Bitcoin rich list, it's going to put you in the upper 1% already just by putting a few $100s in there. And this is just only the beginning. So yeah, it's a good point. 0.82, you know that number, that 0.28 Bitcoin will put you in the 1%? I think that 0.28%, the 0.28 Bitcoin will put you in the 0.01%. There's very little people that have 0.28 Bitcoins, especially at this price range, right? So that we're talking about like $10,000. There's very, very little people out there you talk to that have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. People on this channel probably a lot do, but you ask majority of people out there, they don't even have $10,000 in stocks or savings or 401k. Most people out there don't have any savings at all, right? So to have even $10,000 in Bitcoin, I would argue you're above a 1%. So Phil, you're still talking about the Bank of America guy? Yeah, I mean, if you guys didn't watch the beginning of this stream, you should do so. Francesco Blanche. You know, I don't know if he has a job after doing this interview. He had no clue about Bitcoin at all. Not one intelligent thing was said in this 3-minute clip. Not one intelligent thing was said. I wonder if he really knows what Bitcoin is. Tech Boy asks, George, would you recommend taking profit if Bitcoin is becoming so scarce? That makes no sense at all. If it is becoming scarce, it's going to get more scarce. Why would you sell into cash or USD when its value keeps going up? That makes no sense. So my answer is no. No, not right now. Pedro, even though typically that has been the case, I'm not so sure after 2021 that Bitcoin won't have such a big pullback anymore. You got to follow where the money is. And the money is going into Bitcoin, right? Institutions are buying Bitcoin left and right. Do these institutions make rash decisions? Yeah, sometimes. But they make it a lot less than retail investors, right? So they're holding on for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Their gold reserves has been in there for 20, 30 years. Why wouldn't they hold Bitcoin for just as long? And as more and more institutions and holders increase their Bitcoin holdings and HODL, who's selling? Who's selling? The number of Bitcoins on the exchanges keeps dropping. So, you got to figure, is it really going to drop 85% after 2021 like previous 4-year cycles? I'm thinking no. I actually think it's not. Now, will Bitcoin fluctuate throughout 2021? Sure. 1, 2, 3,000 point swings, it'll happen. It'll happen for sure. And 1, 2, 3,000 point swings will seem enormous. But if you calculate it in percentage, the percentage is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller as Bitcoin goes up and up and up in price, right? In dollar value. So I don't think we're going to see like 60, 70, 80% drops anymore. I honestly don't. I could be 100% wrong, but that's just my opinion, right? I think institutions, they're changing the game, right? So the thing is, you got to follow where the big and smart money is, where they're going, what they're doing, and what they're doing is buying Bitcoin. They're buying as much Bitcoin as possible. It is a land grab right now. Everyone is trying to grab as much Bitcoin, as much land as they can, because there's only so much of it, and then that's it. There's no more, and it only gets rarer and rarer over time. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave you with that to ponder, because I think I said a lot. If you guys didn't check out the beginning, make sure you rewind, because I think the beginning you'll get a good kick. But overall today, the theme is, grab as much Bitcoin as you can, because the big guys are doing it. It's a big land grab right now, and you want to own as much of it as you can while you still can, before it just becomes way, 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 way too expensive for anyone to purchase anymore, right? That is the name of the game. Who knows? I'm still hoping, crossing my fingers for 30,000 by tonight. So it may happen. If it happens, I'm going to have a live stream for sure. So make sure you follow me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Hit that notification bell and stay tuned for that. If not, you know what? I may do a stream anyways, just for the hell of it. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe. Smash up the likes, and also check out my Patreon page if you want to support me and get some exclusive content. Also, if you want a crash course on Bitcoin, then check out my Teachable page. All right, guys, that is it. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.